right? So summer's a big deal in my house, and I suspect the same for you. Um,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
for me,
definitely.
I work, right? To me, it's just, I mean, it's great. I love summer, but I'm still working. But my wife and kids are off, and life changes a lot in the summertime, and everybody's looking forward to it this time of year. So I'm kind of psyched. How about you? Is it a big deal in your house?
Oh yeah, I mean, to your point, it's a it's different because I still get up and go to work, but everyone is here
Oh yeah,
and
right.
that's fine, you know.
Yeah, I may start going to the office more because it's hard. I find it sometimes it's hard when everybody's here. Sometimes it's no big deal.
Right, right.
I was in my office today, as a matter of fact. That's why I have a collar shirt on. Wednesdays is go to the office day for me.
Oh, I see.
Um, and Chris, you are a full time work from home
Yeah.
person, right?
Yep, that's
Um,
right.
me, prior to COVID, I was in the office a few days a week, and now it's down to 1 day a week. And I got to tell you a little secret. So the company, wants me there at least 1 day a week, and they probably wouldn't mind more. And I got to tell you a little secret. I kind of like it. I kind of like going to the office.
Yeah.
It's like a secret, because the lazy part of me just likes working from home. It's certainly more convenient from a life perspective. Like I'm around, I can do things. But I gotta tell you, I like going to the office like once a week, especially. It kind of mixes things up a little bit. I think it's like good for my brain. I'm a I'm a I'm an extrovert. You know, I think I don't know. You're a bit of a mix, I would guess, right?
I'm not sure. I used to think that was a no-brainer answer, and now I'm very unsure now.
So you used to think it was a no-brainer in which direction? Extrovert?
Yeah, that's what I used to think. And I
Yeah,
wonder if
you.
I was ever right about that. I'm
Well,
not
I
sure.
think you certainly have extrovert tendencies, but I see things in you that remind me of some introverts, and that's not a negative, right? There's no pro or con introvert extrovert. I don't mean it anyway like that, right? But I'm an extrovert. I think that's obvious, right? I don't think anyone's ever accused me of being an introvert, and I think it's good for me to get out of the house. I'm curious to know what other people on the viewers think about that kind of concept about going back. It's so much in the news right now. I'm a Tesla lover. I have my Tesla, and Elon Musk put out some messages and tweets, right? I think they were internal, and he told his company, Tesla, he said something like, and I'm paraphrasing, but time to come to the office. You don't have to come to the office full time, right? And I'm really paraphrasing. He said you don't have to be in the office full time, but a minimum of 40 hours a week. Okay. And I think that's his way of saying, like, listen, if you're working 60 hours a week, work at home some of those days. But 40, he's saying a minimum of 40 hours a week, right? And he said, I
Yeah.
will take your absence as your resignation, right? So he's like hardcore on this. And I hear all kinds of different stories from different companies. And I'm just putting it out there that, gosh, I don't hate going to work, right? I love the flexibility. I like the variability, and there's no way I would want to work like full time in an office. I don't know. That just seems hard. I'm also, let me tell you, as I'm going on this little rant, and we'll get to our topic at hand in a minute here, but I feel like I have to be full disclosure. When I'm in office, I have an office, right? So when I go to work, if things get loud, I can still close the door, right?
Right.
So I'm not like in the cube farm like many people in my organization, and many organizations are in the cube farm. So knowing that like I can go to work and close the door, I don't mind going there. You know, I don't mind going in there. It definitely, I think it helps me mentally a little bit to get out of the house. Some people go to coffee shops. Do you ever do that? Or did you ever pre-COVID?
So I did something similar, but only when I became a full-time remote employee, and for whatever reason I couldn't be at the house. For example, um, I had to have a roof put on the house, so you can't be home for that.
It's hard. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've done that, but it's not I understand for some people that might be their core workflow is they frankly want to be at, like you said, a coffee shop, or even, you know, listen, I don't know how romantic this thought is, but people who said like, oh, I work at a park. I mean, sure, I believe it. I believe that that's all very possible, but it turns out that I actually like my desk with my workspace. And
Uh,
yes, I know it's my equipment, but like I like this equipment.
uh,
And I chose it for a reason. I chose all of these things for a reason. Although, you know, some of these choices I made 15 years ago, and I look at them now and say like I could go to a different desk now, or something like that. But in terms of going in, I when I went fully remote, which was approximately, I want to say 7 or 8 years ago now. The first year was hard, and then I quickly came to a place where I said, "Wow, I hope I never have to go in again." Um, and there's a couple reasons why. I actually would like to go in just to go to a conference room for a meeting or two, but I want to be able to teleport back and forth, because the commute time I do not miss at all, not one bit, not even,
yeah.
nothing about it do I miss in terms of being able to get up, go down, start dinner in a matter of
Oh, yeah.
minutes.
Isn't it great?
But even that, I think what working remote did for me is I always struggled with, and this is going to sound kind of funny because it's been a digital age for a lot longer than the last few years. I always struggled with organizing paperwork. Um, yes, the office had become more and more paperless over my career, but in the end, I still felt like my desk was always a mess. And while that hasn't changed all that much, it isn't paperwork based anymore. I've become totally digital in that even at work everything is in something, whether it's a OneNote, Evernote type thing, or maybe those digital whiteboards. Now I miss a real whiteboard. I really miss a real whiteboard. Um but now we're getting
Yeah.
into some
I
other
hear.
topics about workflow and stuff. I've kind of come to accept it though, and yeah, I don't think I want to go in at all. I'm not committing to that 100% though. You know, there's other issues involved here. For one of them, you know, I still have a fairly young daughter, where it's kind of nice to be around when she gets home. Give it just another couple of years, and that's out the door, you know, because she'll be much busier. So so
Yeah,
things like that are
there's a lot
changing.
of benefits. I mean, that's again, I like hybrid. I don't
Yeah.
have a terrible commute, but if I did, oh God, not into that.
Right.
Richard Wysocki's on chat saying, I just don't want to spend the next 15 years in a guest room, not seeing people and collaborating with others, right? And I get that, right? I get where you're coming from. But he goes on, yes, doesn't have to be exactly 8 to 5. Go in early, leave early. I love the flexibility. I would love to just go in a day or two for a couple hours, like for the day, times when I'm going to have meetings with people, when I want to collaborate, then come back home and do that kind of stuff. Right? I love that kind of flexibility. I just think it's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, I guess it depends on the job you do, the team you work with. Like, here's the thing: this is not a one size fits all, right? It's got to depend on your family life, your home life, what kind of space you have at home, right? Do you have a good space? Do you have um, like I have an office at work, right? Do you
Right.
have a team that's at work, or is everybody you work with remote anyway? So what's the point of going to the office? Some people would say, right? Um, there's so many factors that go to different people, right?
Yep.
And by the way, here's Dark Elder on chat. Dark Elder says, I personally love the change of scenery and the separation of work and play. Yeah, I get that, right? You know what's funny? And I think we've probably got to move on to talking about Maui, right? Like I started this whole detour. Um, but one of the things that I struggle with when I'm working from home is kind of maybe like what Dark Elders get, like the separation of work and play. Like what happens is when I work in the office, I have a half-hour drive home. And in that half hour, I turn off work and, either listen to the music or the news or something like that. And like I feel like when I walk in the door, I'm ready for the family. But when I work from home, I walk downstairs and I haven't transitioned. Like I feel like I'm missing that transition state. But you know, who knows? Who knows? Lots of good stuff in the chat. Dark Elder says, I love working remote, but from coffee shops and other similar locations. Yeah, good idea, right? And Richard Wysocki says, first job versus end of your career. I think there's a question saying, are some people in their first job or end of your career? Maybe that's another factor, right? And of course, Richard Wysocki says, yes, Maui. Maybe that's a hint. Time to get on. Time to get on with the show.
Yeah, yeah. So, I think was it, and I might get this wrong, but I think at Microsoft Build, Maui was officially put in as generally available. I believe that's true. It's been in preview for quite some time. What I do know for sure is that the tooling, because when you're doing desktop apps, I think for a couple of reasons, it's still important to have tooling, visual tooling. So the Visual Studio tooling is preview. What I have not tried is, what if I try to do, maybe we'll try it tonight just to see. What if I try to do this in Visual Studio Code? I'm going to be completely straightforward. I'm not 100% sure if that path exists, and that's not because it doesn't. It's just because I didn't look at it. What I concentrated on was
cool. That kind of plays into last week's show a little bit, right? We've been talking about the difference between the IDEs, how do people work, right? And so I think it's cool to see like where the tooling is good, better, bad, whatever.
Yeah. So what I concentrated on was, can I create a project? Can I run it in an emulator on my own machine? And can I put it on a device? So I certainly don't think we're going to take the place of Maui expertise, but I think we'll be able to look at both. I don't know what to call these, both .NET. I don't want to call them flavors, but there certainly seems to be, for us .NET folks, there seems to be a XAML based project and flavor, and a Blazor based project and flavor. And I think this is part of the separation between multi-app, UI as a technology versus the application framework you build on top of it. They're not the same thing.
Right.
So, we've seen this before. I think ASP.NET developers are more used to it, because in the beginning there was ASP.NET. We called it ASP.NET, and now if we still refer to it, we call it web forms. But our first look at multiple frameworks, multiple ways of working in the front end on top of the same base foundation was MVC, where now you could choose web forms, you could choose MVC. Now you can choose Razor Pages. Now you can choose Blazor. In the end, they're all ASP.NET Core, and they all have startup files and program CS and the dependency injection. That stuff is the foundation, and you build on it. And over in the desktop world, you either, if we go way back, you either chose WinForms or you chose WPF, or maybe when UWP came out, you might have chose XAML. But like now we're seeing, sort of, in my opinion, I think we're kind of seeing that same thing, where Maui is a foundation for one app, many platforms that you're rendering to. But now the application framework that I use to interact with it doesn't have to be XAML based. It doesn't have to be web Blazor based. So it's interesting. I think there can even be more. It's just that suppose somebody has to do the wiring. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I guess somebody would have. So you don't see this as as like the battle royale between the two flavors?
I don't. I have been in many, you know, our good friend Jeff Fritz he streams on Twitch. It's popular stream, C Sharp Fritz. Everybody should go follow C Sharp Fritz. And sometimes discussions will take place in there, and a very common question that comes up all the time, whether it's there or on YouTube channels or in discussion forums, is folks will say, why is there even a Blazor alternative? I mean, what do you, if you want a mobile app, what do you want web for? And I think that's kind of a funny question, because we have a long history of web-based frameworks becoming native, React Native, and I want to say Angular had a native version. Was it called Ionic? I'm so sorry if I've got that wrong.
I don't. I did Angular Ionic with Angular, but Ionic, I think, was also sort of like independent. Like, I think at one point you could do, you know, maybe it was React with Ionic or something. So Ionic was, again, it was just another framework in the middle.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. I don't think it was made for. I don't know what the relationship between the two were, but yeah.
That concept isn't new. No. Hey, I've now built something native. Let me use web technologies on top of it. And of course, we have progressive web apps. Of course we do. But in the end, I think what developers are looking for is, can you do something where you handle the really dirty, nasty plumbing of this look and feel here, that look and feel there, access to the underlying operating system when I need it, where I need it? Can you just manage that? And that's something that it looks like Maui does. So we had Sam Basu on. I don't know if it was last year or even the year before now. I really don't remember. And he demoed
definitely at least last year. Yeah, I'd have to look on the calendar or back on YouTube. You know, if you go to YouTube, for anybody who's, you know, listening, if you're watching this in the future and you're on YouTube, you obviously figured this out. If you're watching it live right now, you can go to YouTube, youtube.com/the Dev Talk Show, and see, you know, all of our old shows, right?
Yeah.
How's that? I like the way I worked that little plug-in.
No, it was nice. I'm very proud of you.
Sneak these things in. Thank you. Appreciate that.
So let's see what this looks like. First of all,
can you share to me?
Yeah, let me work on getting that going. Appreciate look, there's Andy, just popped in.
Hitting the wrong buttons over there. Oh, there's me. Hi, everybody. I'm entered twice. Okay.
Okay. So in order to make this go,
thank you.
You know, we share to each other in real time because the delay on stream is just a little bit. It's just enough that it's annoying. You know.
It can be. Well, some days it's pretty long. Today,
yes,
I think it's actually not bad. You know, a couple seconds can screw you up, though. You know,
right. Weird. So we're gonna try and see how this goes. First of all, I'd like to point out how do you install this thing? And oh, you know what? I set up interesting note. I tried to set up cognac. I feel terrible that I don't know how to say it, but I tried to set that up where it shows the keys that you press. I love that utility that you have. Karnak. I don't know. Why did I call it cognac? Why did I call it that?
I don't know. Well, why? There's Freudian slip there a little bit, but you know.
I tried setting up Karnak, and it for some reason it only wants to display on this monitor, which is not the monitor I'm sharing. So we'll figure that out another night.
Oh, I think there's a setting. There's a setting for that. You can choose which monitor you want it to display on. It's such a cool tool, by the way. But anyway, let's not worry about that right now.
So first of all, you still need Visual Studio 2022 Preview. The tooling is still considered preview today, as of today. That could change even by the time you watch this, even if you watch it just like a couple months from now. I have no idea on that time frame, by the way, so I didn't announce anything. I don't know anything. You know, I want to make sure.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer is I don't know. Could be tomorrow, could be later. So I did notice that the instructions that you can see say, hey, you want to add this workload .NET multi-platform app UI development, which I did. I added that workload. I didn't do anything else, and I actually struggled with this for a little bit. I thought for certain that I was going to have to. I said, well, aren't I going to need an emulator? And I wanted to check this box very badly that says Google Android emulator. But then it occurred to me that this is like a down level emulator, that the current I think is like level 31. So maybe this is for back compatibility. So I let it go. And it turned out, I guess I was right, is that just the workload is good enough.
Okay.
And so
Good.
what I have open is that preview version. We can tell because in the upper right hand corner it says preview. And let's see if I remember how to do any of this. I should be able to draw a nice, oh, I see, I didn't even remember.
Straight line.
Like
Someone once
straight
told
line.
me to draw a straight line.
Yeah, I can draw a straight line. That's like really, I don't remember what it is. Oh, there it is for the arrow. It's Control Shift. See that? Control Shift.
Yeah.
So it's preview.
Look at that. And
Cool.
listen, if you still have Karnak running,
Yeah,
do you still have it running?
I do.
Okay, so
I
in
went to the
tray,
options. Yeah, I went
no,
to
no,
that.
in the tray, you just double click it in the tray,
Yep,
and that
and
should show you.
it does.
There's some display stuff in there,
Yeah.
right? There's like three pictures at the top, three monitors,
Yep.
right?
And little
And you can
dots.
say,
Yes. And no matter which dot
so
I choose, it doesn't change the monitor.
so which monitor do you want it to appear on?
I want it to appear on the one with Visual Studio.
Right. So
I
I'm saying, is
tried,
that your number one, your number two, or your number three?
according to Karnak, it's the number 2. I tried every
Okay.
possible dot in every corner, and it never changed.
And you
the
saw the
monitor.
little icon show up in the corner,
Yes.
like it's like 3 bars or 4 little bars. Really?
But only on one monitor. Yeah, it just doesn't
That is
matter.
odd.
It doesn't matter if I select the other monitor. So let's do.
Man, don't you
file new
hate when you
project.
get something for free and it doesn't work perfectly?
Oh well, I'm not gonna beat up on them too much. So
That's what I'm saying. It's free, right? What are you gonna do?
since I've already searched for .NET Maui, you can see it's like asking me, is this what you want? Is this what you want? But we're gonna say that I came in and I searched .NET Maui, and I can create a .NET Maui app or a .NET Maui Blazor app, which maybe we'll look at a little bit later. And when I click next, I actually would like to build a Dev Talk Show app, not because I expect everybody here to rush out and get it, but I think it would be a good experience to create. And I mean, look, I don't know what it would do other than maybe like show you past shows and grab the schedule for Meetup. I'm not saying it would be fantastic, but I think the experience of moving this into app stores would be valuable. Maybe we could share that experience with people. So when you create the app, I don't know about you, Andy, but this really takes me back. It's like WPF is here again for someone like me. I know it's not WPF, but it is XAML, which I couldn't help but associate with the WPF days. And I found some interesting things when I took a look at this first off. One of them is we have this Maui program.
Oh, look at this thing.
CS.
Maui program. Couldn't just call it program.cs.
No, but I actually found this interesting. Doesn't that look familiar? It's got that builder the way ASP.NET Core does.
Right.
And my
that's
understanding
not on accident, right? That's not accidental. Obviously.
I don't think it's an accident.
Like, we're not involved in the design decisions, but clearly they're trying to make us feel comfortable switching paradigms, right? Which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, like Dark Elder says, I think it'd be great to do on stream. I agree. I agree. But and so I found some interesting things here. I said, okay, well, first of all, in the right-hand side, in this dependencies section, there are libraries already hooked up. One for Android, one for iOS, one for Mac Catalyst, which is a way to build Mac desktop apps. If I understand correctly what Catalyst is, it is like a library / framework for building Mac applications. And therefore what you got is you've got .NET building on top of that here. And then .NET for Windows, which is always kind of we think about like mobile apps and forget that, well, hey, there's a Windows Store as well. Well, I think it's actually technically
Yeah.
called the Microsoft Store now. Um, so right off the bat, without doing anything else, I can go ahead and I'll just go ahead and let it build while we're talking. I can go ahead and build and run right here on my Windows machine, which maybe isn't the most exciting thing, because it's like, you know,
Yeah, but it's a start. Do you think it's interesting, by the way, just jumping back to this the screen you have up here? It like configure fonts, like you get nothing out of the box, I guess. Right?
I'm not 100% if that's true. I think that that's adding
Okay.
other fonts. But here it is. Here's the app.
Hmm.
And we're going to see this a few times in a few different ways. It's being kind of responsive, right? It even sort of crunches in a little bit. All it does is if you click, it tells you how many times it clicked. Not, we're not going to win any awards here, but we'll look at some of the cool stuff a little bit later. Now, to your point, I'm not sure that this is all that's in the font collection. I really am not sure. I think what we could do is we could hit a breakpoint here, and we're adding a font. What's in the font collection to start? You may be 100% right, Andy. You might be 100%
I
right.
don't know. I have no idea. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing you
I
may
guess
have
you could
noticed is,
comment it out. You could comment it out and see what happens. But I don't know what you showed. Was that an image or was that text? The thing that
you
came
mean
up on
the
that page because it
oh
had a
when
logo, right?
yeah, there's well, let's look at the XAML for it. So the
Yeah.
main page XAML, it does these are hello world was text. It was not an image.
Yeah.
And
Right.
welcome to .NET Platform App UI, and a button that's actually says click me. So to your point, the image is the bot,
Yeah.
the little .NET bot. The rest is not. So you make a good point there, and I guess since we're here to tinker, that's what we're here for.
It's what we do a lot, right? Let's see what happens.
I, I I would like to think that it'll like pick default fonts or something, but I don't know. And
Would
I'm gonna
like
go
to
ahead and set a quick.
yeah.
I'm gonna try to set a quick breakpoint
Right.
here so we can see if anything's in the fonts collection. Another thing that I actually didn't even notice before the show is the font that's here in Visual Studio 2022 is one of these coding style fonts that it has a ligature that automatically puts together the lambda sign, the Anders sign, as I lovingly refer to it.
That's good.
I
I've
really stole
always
that
loved
from
those kind of
Scott Hamilton.
did you?
Scott
Hanselman.
Hanselman. So you're right. No results in here whatsoever. Let's see what happens.
Does it load up a
The
default
app's
font?
opening up, and
Yeah.
oddly enough, it really doesn't look any different to me. So
No, it doesn't. Is
I
that just
didn't.
the browser has those fonts in it? Like it's a browser font or something like that? But it's not a browser.
Well, this isn't a browser.
Yeah.
This is using.
Yeah,
I
right.
believe that this is. I think when you use Maui this way, you're using WinUI 3. I believe that's correct, and maybe I'm wrong. But this is a whole other rabbit hole about WinUI 3 and the evolution of the Windows UI stack. It's being separated out so that it can be targeted many different ways, where in the past it could be a little painful to get to things like GDI and Win32. And I really feel like what's happening is a sort of it's kind of probably what we wanted all along, was if you like your Win32, keep using your Win32. And if you like your .NET, keep using your .NET. And oh, by the way, we've got some new things too. So I don't know. That's just how I feel about it.
What we should do? We should have our friend Alvin come in.
Oh,
As
absolutely.
a guest, because he works on the Windows Dev Docs team now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
I
and
wonder.
he's been following he's one of the folks. There's some other MVPs that we know of that they've spent a lot of time following this desktop saga and following it for a long time. So what's interesting is if I go to this resources folder and I go to images, that .NET bot is here in here as an SVG.
This brings back my memories. Like you were talking about like Xamarin and like Silverlight days.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Hey, but
So,
there's also a fonts folder. I wonder what that's interesting because there's a
oh, there
fonts folder.
is.
Yeah.
So my understanding is there is a good reason to select an SVG and to place it in this resources folder and then refer to it in your XAML the way it is referred to here. And that reason, oh, for one thing, you may have noticed it says .NET Bot ping. Well,
Okay.
apparently you get, as part of the build process, a conversion of the SVG rendered out into all the sizes that the various platforms need to look great. And SVG is gonna work very well for that. So
Yeah.
they're kind of leading you down that road, saying consider SVG here, consider a vector based graphic. You mentioned the
Yeah,
fonts,
because
here
they
they are.
scale so well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. As far as them, I don't know if as part of the build process I
That's
can
what I was
spot
wondering.
it.
I think they put. I remember it. Well, and I thought I remember that they package these things. Did you do a build for all, or did like
I
what did your build do? Does your build all
I don't think it
these
did.
things?
I let's see, from build. I guess I can't tell for sure what this did, but this built for Windows. That I clicked
Yeah.
Windows machine.
Oh, right,
Right. So
right.
that's all I did. So, while we're sitting here and chatting, I'm going to go ahead and tell it again. Installed the workload, the .NET Maui workload, and then and here's what I'm not able to show you, and I'm a little disappointed I didn't maybe video it or screen cap this. I didn't have this Android emulators pop up, and it was really frustrating because some of the docs say like go switch to an Android emulator, and I was really like, why isn't it showing up? But when I built this the first time, in the error list I got I don't remember if it was a warning or an error that said cannot fire up emulator until you accept a license agreement or something. And so I double clicked on
Oh,
it and it brought up the Google Android license agreement. I accepted it, and as soon as I did that, this now became available. So Visual Studio manages that for you. And I would say to anybody watching, if you get frustrated just like I did, like, hey, I'm in here and I don't see Android emulator, build your solution, look for the error down here. And I really wish that I would have maybe screen capped it or something. I might see if I can figure out how to uninstall all this, and I don't know if I can. I really don't
I
know.
wonder if you switch. Like in Visual Studio, there's that like presenter view where you're like in a new profile. Um, I wonder if you would get that
Sure.
behavior, but it's
Yeah.
hard to say if it would. And I don't know if you have that. You need to have that extension installed to get that presenter mode. I forget what it's called. I think it's one of Mads's great things, but I could be wrong about that.
No, I know what you're talking
Um,
about. I think there was an
yeah.
extension.
Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or,
Anyway,
I go
so
log in as somebody else up here where right now I'm logged
yeah.
in. It's not like I don't have burner Microsoft accounts. I mean, I think you almost have to, so you can say, okay, what does this look like for a user who who isn't logged in? Like I do that all the time. And people who watch the show know that I do that is I got to see what the experience is like for someone who isn't logged into their Microsoft account 24/7 like I feel like I am. So, the Android emulator is firing up, and I think I'll take
It's
this
jars that
opportunity
it's
to. I'm
creating.
going to take this opportunity to try to not cut off Andy's head. Oh, it's not doing what I wanted.
My head cut off. Well, I sat up a little higher
Did
than
you
I
sit
was
up?
before.
Yeah, because
I
it's not
did.
letting me
Yeah, don't
go.
worry. It's not you. It's me. It's okay. It's just the bald part. Like, you guys, let's just pretend that there's hair up here that you can't see. How did I do that? Let's see. Wait, I moved a little bit and it went back. So I don't know.
uh,
Because I'm looking at it on the delay, it's a little confusing. But yeah, let's just pretend I have hair. Is there like a filter for that in OBS? Like a hair filter? That'd be cool. Look at
all right.
this. You got your
So
emulator popping up.
yeah,
We haven't even done anything yet. Let's face it, right? Like this is just the default hello world,
Right.
essentially.
Right. We haven't really done anything.
But there's something to be said for the fact that you didn't need to jump through a lot of hoops to get Android, Windows, etc. Right? Like it just kind of works. Although maybe it doesn't just work.
Well, it did work, and I'm wondering if there's a little interference from streaming here, but as you can see,
Possible. I was
oh,
thinking
wait
the
a
same
second.
thing.
Wait a
Oh
second.
no,
Here we
there it
go.
is.
Here we go. So
It's really slow.
we are actually, I think I might have accidentally, you know how when you click the power button on your phone, I think when I grabbed
Mhm.
this, I think I shut it off just like that.
Oh, look at that. You're
So
right.
I think it
Yeah,
was active waiting for me like a dummy, right? So here we are.
totally. Yeah.
We're debugging. We're debugging, and I can prove that by saying, "Hey, nobody's clicked this yet, so let's get the emulator back up and let's click." And here we are. We've hit our breakpoint we're in the Android emulator. We hit our breakpoint. We're going to change the text on the counter button from click me to clicked how many times? Well, one time, because this is our first time through. So as we can see, this main page class, which is the code behind for the main page XAML, it's got a count variable that we're going to start updating. I'm going to go ahead and click continue, and there it is. Clicked one time. I'll click it a couple more times. Let's hit that in the code by hitting a breakpoint there, and there we are. We're about to switch to 6 as soon as I let this thing go. So there it is. It works in the emulator. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now,
Easy peasy debugging, right?
now we're still debugging. Let's try something more interesting. Right here, we have something called XAML Live View. It's a little small. I could, besides zooming in with Zoom It, I could pull this window out and make it much larger, but I actually don't know that that's even all that important. You can do that, and I even recommend that maybe you do take it and move it to another screen. But let's go to the XAML. We're debugging right now, don't forget. And let's change it from hello world here to hello the dev talk show. And as you can see over on the right, you see how the XAML live view is updating?
Yeah.
Okay. But let's go take a
Don't
look
tell
at
me. Wait. Don't do it. Are you telling me what I think is going to happen is going to happen?
Well, I don't know. Look at that.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. So what we have is a feature called XAML hot reload. We got a clue down here in the corner. XAML hot reload connected. So we have a feature called XAML hot reload where we can change the UI on the fly. It's crazy. Now, I don't know what happened to my counter button. I think I might have lost it because I overflowed a little bit.
Oh.
In fact, there it is. It's back. It's back.
Yeah. Well, you're
So
using these
hello.
like stack panels and stuff like that, so it pushed
Right.
it out of the way, I guess.
What if instead I didn't want it to say clicked?
Take away the
instead of
word
it-
times, right?
Yeah, I don't want it to say times anymore. Whoops. Or how about we just do this? Count clicks. And let's I mean, let's see. It hasn't changed the text. And I don't actually know if this is going to work, and I'll show you why in a second. Let's find out. Okay, it didn't do anything, so you might be disappointed. Did I modify the XAML, though? This time I modified code. But we can still go to our friend hot reload. And I'm hoping this all works. And now I still think I need to click. I haven't tried this. I still think I need to click again so that I run through this new code. And there it is.
Wow, that's
So
pretty slick though.
we've got
Yeah.
hot reload for our code behind. We've got XAML hot reload. I'm not reloading my app. I'm not starting that long debugging process again. That's pretty cool. And it's an
Yeah, now
experience we've never had.
think about this too. Like, so this is not that big a deal, right? You're on the home screen, but on some apps, when you're debugging, you're like 6 clicks into the app, navigate through this, log into here, go to this page, go to this area of the page, whatever it is, right? Like whatever you have to do, choose the details button, right? So I'm assuming that if you were 6 layers in, this all still works. You're not popping back out to the top of the navigation tree or whatever it is that caused you to get where you're going.
Yeah, right. Um,
Very cool.
I thought that was pretty cool. That now I didn't try the C# hot reload before the show. I tried the XAML hot reload, and then I read in the blog post that like, oh, and hot reload works too. So I said, all right, I take your word for it. We're gonna do it live. So
Living on the edge tonight, Chris.
this has been pretty cool. So finally, last but not least, it's gonna take a little bit to get this going. You know, I have a an Android phone, and I currently have it USB connected. I had to go into the system settings and turn on developer mode, which I did not actually know how to do this. And it turns out the way you do this on a Android phone, apparently, is you go to like you find the about box that tells you what version. Do you know this? Because I didn't know. And
Well, I
you
forgot, but
tap
as
it.
soon as you started saying it,
Yeah,
it made me laugh because I know what you have to do
yeah.
close. I don't remember exactly, but go ahead and tell. This is
You
funny.
start tapping the about box, and after about
Right.
7 or 8 times, it just tells you like, okay, fine, you're a developer.
It's like
On
a
the
hidden button. Like there's no
Yeah,
button to do it. You have to really want to do it. And if you
right,
click it like 7 times, it you're in. I mean, it's kind of cool because
right.
it's kind of weird, but it's cool.
Yeah. So in
On
any
an
case,
Apple, if you want to be in developer mode, you probably have to pay like $300 and then get a new phone and then get an account and then get no, I'm just ragging on Apple. I'm not a fan, but um, so who knows? I shouldn't even be saying. Yeah.
so over here to the right, this is my phone. We're sharing the screen here. I'm hoping not to dox myself or anybody else. Um, we'll see. I think that we are reaching the limits of even what my machine wants to do, because there's an awful lot of video going on right now, and I would be curious what this is doing to the stream. It looks like I'm
Yeah, how's the
looking.
stream holding up?
We
Are
haven't lost any
we dropping
frames.
frames?
Doesn't look like we've
Good.
lost any frames. It did look like my Logitech camera stuttered for at least a few seconds. I'm curious if it affected my voice. Um, it's deploying. It's working on deploying. It found the device.
Oh, right. Hasn't done it yet.
It's doing it. And the thing I want to see here is I want to see it come up. See, we've modified the code. I could have brought up the version that I deployed earlier, but I want to see our Hello Dev Talk Show, and I want to see Hot Reload work in here.
Oh man. So you're saying it doesn't just work on the emulators. It should work. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I hope so. So
Yeah.
here's the code that we've deployed. Clicked one time, and then here's our second. From now on, it's going to say clicked. 2 clicks, 3 clicks, 4 clicks. So now I want to go. Let's go to XAML, and let's say that it's going to be hello. We're on Android, and I haven't even hit the save button. You can see how that's still got a dot ready to be saved. I want to
Mm.
see. I want to see. Yeah, there it is. Ready to go. Now I pushed my button out of the way, so let's just say hello Android. And I still have not saved anything. So, just like last time, I'll save that file now. And let's go to here, and we're going to say I'm just going to put the word it's in front. That's all. Nothing special. I'm going to save that file, hit the hot reload button, and let's get back out to the app here. And yeah, there it is. It's 6 clicks. My little it's is there. This is on my device. There's another thing you may not have noticed. I don't know if you've noticed or not. My device is in dark mode. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
That it just went to dark mode. You know, I know I can change it. I know I can change it. I don't remember how.
But so why are you saying it's interesting that it went to dark mode? You don't use dark mode.
What code did I change? My device is in dark mode. The app is in dark mode. It's white text on black instead of being a white background. You know,
you're saying that on your phone you choose dark mode.
Yeah.
And the app interpreted that. This
right.
App
so
reacted to your settings.
The framework by default, Maui and the .NET project by default is ready to support dark mode. You know, do I know the details of what you got to do every which way? No, but that's out of the box. This Hello World app just said, okay, I'm ready for dark mode. I thought that was pretty cool too.
Double style sheet of some sort. Yeah, that'd be interesting to look into.
Right. So like I mean, you know, to your point about it, I think. So, you know, let's see. We've got our main page XAML. And I don't think it says in here. It could be that the controls are kind of dark mode ready. There's also a lot of accessibility. Do you see how if you supply semantics descriptions of the controls that you're putting in, I don't know. I wish I knew how to activate this, but I believe if I turn on my screen reader, it will read. I mean, maybe it'll do it if I can figure out, you know, can I figure out how to do that?
So that's something that you have to code for, right? You had to add that text at the bottom that says, after you click the counter, you're telling the phone to activate the semantic screen reader and announce the fact that it's been changed. But the fact that those kind of features are sort of easily available.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting, you know.
So here I go, dark mode. Light mode. So let me switch to light mode, get out of this. And our apps, you know, I mean, it's just ready to go. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Dark mode's in there.
What's in the styles folder? Because there was a styles folder in Solution Explorer.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Yeah, just down a little bit from where you are. Down, yep, there it is, styles.
So
I wonder if, yeah.
First of all, we can start with colors, which I found interesting. You can go through and start naming some things and basically set up a whole palette for your app.
Yeah.
You know, purples and so on. And so that palette was set up, and I believe that when we go and take a look, we'll see that these were the colors that were used. But you wanted to look at styles.xaml, which I have not looked at.
Sure, I assume it's styles. I'm just something. Well, I would think you'd need to have the colors defined twice. Like, what color do you want to use when you're in light mode?
And look at that. Look at that right there. App theme binding. So your activity indicator, your indicator view, your border, box view. Let's look at the button. That's probably the best one to look at because it'll be easier for us to see it. Is the text color when you're light. You called it, Andy. Text color when you're in light mode is white. Dark mode, it's primary. We could go look up what that is. And then the background color, primary or white.
Yeah, I actually thought it would be different. I thought it would say the text color is assigned to like my primary color. And the primary color has a light mode and a dark mode or something like that. It's a little different than what I would have expected.
Yeah, so the primary brush is set. And just like you said, you bind the colors this way.
All the binding that you get with XAML is just, you know, the binding stuff's amazing.
You're basically saying here that for all buttons, I want these features. I want, here's that font we were looking for. Change the font size. We could change the corner radius. I mean, you know, XAML back in WPF days, to me, there's no doubt that somebody said, maybe a group of people said, if only we had a second shot at layout and styling, and we did it from an engineering perspective with a lot of consistency, because it's actually quite good. It's just that HTML, CSS, you know, they run everywhere, work everywhere. And so we've spent literally a lifetime fighting with those to get what we want, where I have to say, and XAML's not the only platform that does this, that it's actually quite nice. So, you know, these they basically go ahead and fill out a lot of this stuff for free in such a way that I don't have to go in, and I actually think this is kind of smart. I don't have to go in and change all of these different control stylings. I can get things going by picking my app's primary colors, and
Right.
I move away from the .NET bot. Maybe the Dev Talk show's kind of more blue or more green. I don't know. Who cares? And I'm off and running, you know?
So there's a static resource called primary.
Yeah.
I forgot about these static resources and all that kind of stuff. So primary brush color. See, what I don't understand is then how does that work for light mode and dark mode unless those don't change?
Well, it showed it here. So like on the button, the text color when you're light is use white, and in dark use primary, and flip it around for the background.
Yeah, it just toggles between white.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't want everything to work that way. I mean, it's still a little bit of work.
Oh, I think certainly in the end you're gonna have work to do, but I give them credit for not making you feel like quite honestly, I can come in here and I can change this color. You know, I have to, it's been a while since I've done this, so I feel a little
There
odd
used to be a
about.
way you could click on that
Oh,
thing.
here it is. Here it is. So here's what I want. Well, who knows?
Maybe not.
I thought I
Thought
agree
you
with
had
you.
to.
I thought I could
Maybe you
click
have to
on it.
backspace add to the pound or something. Maybe it's pound, and that activates it. Like go back to hit pound. Maybe control space or something. I don't know.
Oh, look at that. It worked.
Yeah.
So I've
But
changed it, right? And I think if I head out to the app,
changed
oh, maybe not.
live.
Maybe
Yeah.
not. Maybe I've got to hit, maybe I've got to save it.
It looked already changed.
Did it?
See it?
Where?
At the
Oh,
home.
up
Yeah, it
here,
was
up
already there.
here,
The
up
home.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
you're
was
right.
like that all along. You didn't have to do anything. Yeah. Cornflower blue.
I just wanted
I
to
didn't
pick
know that
something,
one.
right? Like lime. Is lime a color?
Green.
Oh, it is. Okay. And
Well, you have to be. That's your tertiary color, so it
I'm
might
not
not
sure
be
tertiary is
used.
being used.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
just to be fair, I'm not sure that it's being used, but if I
Yeah.
change this, well, let me go ahead and save it. Yeah, I'm not seeing it change here.
You broke it.
Yeah, it's all broken now.
Who
All right.
knows? So what else is going on with this whole thing? So how do we like? What else do we do? Like if we're building how about like dependency injection, all that kind of stuff? Do you know if that stuff is as easy as we would expect it to be, or?
Well, so it seems to me that what we've got here is in our builder. So the dependency injection from .NET, right? We can say there's a lot more configuring that we're not even looking at, but there is the services container, and
Mm-hmm.
you can add services, which I don't think
Add
is the way.
transient.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if this is how. Maybe it is. Is this what you're doing in .NET, in ASP.NET Core
Yeah,
today? Is
yeah,
you're doing it just
absolutely.
like
Yeah,
this? Okay. So you
yeah.
might add a singleton service. I mean, I'm just making it up. I don't
Yeah,
have a
use like
service to
angle
add here.
brackets. Yeah, oh, a singleton. Yeah, right. So you might do it that way, right? Um,
I mean, I
yeah, I
don't.
mean, usually like I'll do like add transient. You say like iLog or and then comma logger and whatever it is, right? Like those are just the
Yeah.
so it looks like you would have access to all that kind of stuff
Yep.
in the services collection. But I wonder how you get to those in your code behind or whatever it's called. Is code behind the right word? Is that what they're calling it?
Yeah, I think so. I think code behind is the right word. The problem is I don't. This is where I wish I'd done a little bit more. I understand that I can start using, like, I can write code against native device features, like maybe the accelerometer
Mm-hmm.
or the compass or something. And I don't know how you do that. Um, that would be nice. So,
Yeah.
for
So where would your
example,
different page? How does navigation work? Did you look at that at all? I don't remember how navigation works in Maui.
well, so we have in our app XAML. Um, no, that's not it. There is a place that tells you where you basically say the main page is this, and so
Start.
it's
Yeah.
create app. Is it in here? Is this the one that knows? I feel like one of these things knows. Yeah, this I think is it. I think this is what
Content template.
knows what your first page is.
Okay.
Appshell.xaml. And you're not going to do much with this. You're basically just saying, hey, my main route is here. But this is important though, because this app shell, they're not doing much with this, but I could change this title and I can do I think I can do navigation here, but I didn't get far enough to how do I set up pages and routing, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Um because I agree with
Well,
you,
if we
that's
have
the
time,
next
we
step.
could. Yeah.
Unless you can find it real quick.
I'm gonna look real quick.
What
Yeah.
I was gonna do though is maybe while you're looking, is I think I want to fire up the Blazor project. And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean I want to switch over to Blazor. I think it'd be great to figure out both. But I am going to fire up a second Visual Studio instance and have a .NET Maui. I believe the project title is .NET Maui Blazor or something like that. And after a quick peek at that, we can try to change some things. So we're going to say File, New Project. And this time when I say .NET Maui, it says .NET Maui Blazor app, a project for creating. Oh, and a project for creating a .NET Maui application for iOS, Android, Mac Catalyst, Tizen, and WinUI using Blazor. So my term WinUI, I don't think I used it quite correctly.
Hmm.
The dev talk show Blazor. I'm really curious about this, but I would like to figure out a few more things. I think that would be nice to maybe add a page or something. So I'm going to do nothing more than go ahead and let this fire up. Let's get it going in the emulator here.
Yeah, I
But
found a pretty good. I think a good tutorial on navigation. If we have time and get back to it, um, doesn't look all that hard. But it's easy for me just reading it off the fly.
yeah, so here is an app. Here is the file new project of a .NET Maui Blazor app. This might look familiar. There's an index.razor, and there are pages, and maybe we'll learn a little bit here, but there's still a main page XAML and a Maui program CS, which I'm going to open up. And the difference is that this looks familiar, but then things change. Add Maui Blazor web view. And they even
Which kind of says to me that Maui was built for Like this is an add-on.
Yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
maybe that's wrong of me to say, but this, this is like sort of not that it's second class, right? Because it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot to do to wire it up. But the point is, you need to say, oh, wait, I want it to be Maui Blazer, right?
Right. It could be useful for a team that invests heavily in Blazor and Blazor components,
Oh, absolutely.
or even just a team that's more comfortable with web development and is willing, they're willing, you're willing to say, hey, I'm more comfortable with the web paradigm, styling things with the web controls, stuff like that. But I'm okay to take a detour into Blazor. Like I'm willing to make that concession. Or maybe you just use Blazor today. So where's that
Yeah, a lot of
emulator at?
people use Blazer.
Like here it is. Hello world. I can go to the counter page, click the counter like we always have. I can go to the fetch data page, which pretends to fetch data from a weather forecast service.
Yeah,
Which I'm pretty sure, like when we go to this weather forecast service, I'm pretty sure it just fetches from a local file. Oh, actually, it doesn't even look like it does that.
it's random or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just making stuff up. But that's fine. Curious, where is that in the? Oh, here it is in the data section. So we've got pages. Now let's take a look. Maybe we'll glean some insight before we take a look at in the app.xaml. In the app.xaml here, we're seeing, well, what are we seeing? Okay, this is kind of the shell, right? The label that says Dev Talk Show Blazor, and then this button probably for the menu. I think that's what we're seeing in app.xaml. But in main page.xaml, it's just saying go ahead and host up. Yeah, go ahead and host up index.html. So not exactly what I think you were looking for over on the XAML side, but interesting that you can go to work, start building out Blazor components, and just, wow, that's just so, it's weird. It feels like crossing the streams, but then again, what if you get pretty good with Blazor? Like, what, do you really need to learn something else? So you
Right.
were
Right.
saying
That's what people always want. Yeah.
for a second page, do you think there's an add page that's super simple? Probably not, huh?
Well, this is so you're in the
I went back to
you're
the,
back in the yeah. Yeah, I posted a link in our in Skype chat.
okay.
And you can bring it up on screen if you want, because actually it's a pretty good example of the docs. I thought, it shows that there's a lot of stuff you can do, right? So, like on the left side, you see in the navigation, you have all this sort of getting started stuff. Then you have obviously some XAML. Then you have these fundamentals. How does accessibility work? App life cycle, behaviors, etc. And you get down to the shell, and within the shell, they talk about how you do things like navigation, how you do search, what are pages. So like again, like you would expect it to be, docs are seem to have it pretty well spelled out. And then there's different types of navigations. So there's this fly out navigation, there's page navigation, there's a couple different things, and I'm just kind of talking about what's there. But if you go back to the navigation, a few nodes down from where you are on the left, sort of talks you through how you navigate with the shell. And so you can see there's some properties. It tells you where you are, but essentially you come where you are. What you're looking at right now is how you register a route.
Yep.
Okay, you have to give it a route, right? Which is basically a name. And then I think when you go down a little lower, you basically register page details. So you have to do this routing register route thing. It says in the shell subclass, yeah. I guess there's a few different ways to do it, but then yeah, now where you're getting to the perform navigation where you were at, it's pretty easy.
We're probably going to need a page first, right?
Well, not I don't know if you need it if you're doing a flyout. Well, maybe a flyout is a page, but you're right. We need some place to navigate to.
So
So probably makes
let's
sense
see.
to create a display page.
Let's see if we can figure that out. So I said, and let me do that again so we can see what I did. I right clicked here and said add new item. And under .NET Maui, I've got some
Mhm.
interesting things here. Content page, a XAML content page, the C# for it, a content view. I'm not 100% sure. I think I can probably do a content page because look, main page is a content page.
Yeah, right.
So let's try a content page. Do we care if it's new page 1?
I don't think we do.
All right, so let's do that. And we got some XAML and we got a new page 1. And
Yep,
all it
sure
says is
did.
welcome to .NET Maui. Why don't we just so that we're
That's
absolutely
okay for
sure
starters, I guess.
this is new page 1. I don't know if that was important. So now let's figure out how to wire that up. So in main page.xaml, it's saying the content page is here. This is not it. I want to go to app shell. Okay, now
Yep.
let's go, like you said in the docs, navigation, I think. Well, let's see. For pages, okay. Pages are typically created on demand in response to navigation. This is accomplished by using the data template markup to set the content template property of each shell content object. So does that look familiar? It kind of does. Here's the shell. Here's some shell content. We don't have a tab bar, so I'm not sure. Maybe we're going to have some trouble navigating, and maybe we'll have to add a tab
Well,
bar.
tab bar would be for tab navigation, right? You're not
Yeah,
really going to another page, I don't think. That's it. I assume that's like where you have the three of them at the bottom and you can toggle between them. And that's not a full navigation, I don't think. But
right. Well, let's see what happens if we well, we're not going to get it right out of the box because there's got to be a way to navigate there. So for now, what we need to do is we need one of these shell content. And the title we'll say is new page. And the content template is data template. Local. Page 1. And the route.
I think it's
don't
just new
know.
page or something like that.
I don't know if it's correct.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Now
You might have to go and
I don't think that's going to do much for us in
no,
terms
not
of
yet.
getting
I
to
think,
it.
well, no, it's not. I think you need to go to the route. Here we are just kind of going for it live
Yeah,
in the
so it
dev
says
talk
here the
show.
top level of navigation is either a flyout or a bottom tab bar, depending on the navigation requirements of the app. Single page shell app, which is great, but now, so what is, okay, so that's the bottom tab thing, which I don't know that we necessarily want, or maybe we don't care.
Yeah, who
Maybe,
knows?
maybe we don't care. We kind of just want to see something work, right? So
Yeah, I think flyout might be easier, but I don't
it
know.
might
Maybe
be. Let's
not.
look at flyout. Let's look at it. So flyout, oh, is it easier?
I don't know. So both of them have the shell content.
Well, what's interesting is you look at the XAML here and it looks like it's implicit in this case. See that?
Yeah, it does, doesn't
Shell
it?
has implicit conversion operators. It's almost like they say, hey, if you don't do anything, we will implicitly give you,
Yeah.
heck, maybe maybe you get flyout for nothing. Why don't we
Well, you still need a button that's going to cause it to happen, right? So what you need to do is, if you look at the, I mean, it's not going to just go to it.
I don't think it will either, except I find it interesting that they say
Yeah, but you haven't gotten to the part where you tell the code to do the navigation for you.
I agree. I just find it interesting that they almost say like maybe you don't even need it by default, but we could put it in because I don't suspect this is gonna do what I want. Is it building? Okay, so they show an example here, a flyout containing 2 flyout items. That's this. There's a little sample here. Maybe this is what we need to put in. I just found it interesting that they say, "Hey, you can have a flyout, great, but if you want, you don't even have to do that." I just find that very interesting. Did I shut off the other app, the Blazor app? I didn't. I didn't shut off the Blazor app. So I've got my poor emulator going mad over here.
Yeah. That explains the smoke coming up behind you on the screen.
Right. So let's continue here. So
Now, in this case, they're calling them flyout item, by the way. And we did not do that.
right.
Matter of fact, they're both flyout items, so they don't have even just like a content. They just have flyout item, flyout item. But those say shell content, so I don't know. Maybe this isn't as easy. I said, oh look, I kind of, you know, screwed you over. I'm like, oh yeah, Chris, this is an easy tutorial. Don't worry about it. Don't worry, Chris will figure it out. Don't worry, everybody. Chris has got this.
Oh, interesting.
Here
Pressing
it
the
is. So you
hamburger
got to click
icon.
on the hamburger icon.
Okay. Well, let's
I
try
don't get
this.
what the bottom part is where there's shell content still.
I think what they're trying to say is that we gave you all these controls, but that we will follow some conventions to kind of figure it out for you, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. So it's interesting because it said something about swiping, and
Wait, make sure it's fully loaded. I guess it is, right? You're thinking gravity is gonna like just bring it down if you put it on its side?
yeah. Or do I have to do something? No. What do
I
these
think you got to
buttons
do a
do?
little more.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay. So let's close this. And let's go back to here.
What happens if I call your cell phone right now?
Well, we're using the emulator, so
Oh, that was the emulator. Okay, right.
yeah, I switched to the emulator. So
Just thinking when you have your phone hooked up, like if I call it, will it like the stream just crashes because your phone rang or something like that? Yeah.
so we have a shell app, and let's go ahead and say, because
Yeah.
why
So this
not?
is interesting because all these examples show it a little differently.
Oh, wait a
Some of them
second.
say
Hold
shell
on.
content,
Hold on. I just
and some
spotted
of them
something
say
interesting.
flyout.
See, this shell flyout behavior is disabled.
Oh,
Hold on.
ooh.
What is that?
What? You're determined to try to
Because
swipe it.
I'm lazy. I want to see it work. Oh, look at this.
Oh boy. Holy moly.
So in the default project, they disable flyout support, I guess. And so even this implicit, so what the docs are saying, and it said it here. You read it. You read it where it
Uh-huh.
said, they said, "Hey, we have," was it in navigation that they said it, or was it in tabs? I think it might have been in tabs. Sorry that I'm bouncing around for people that are watching.
Sorry.
But they, right here, this caught my
Right
attention.
here. Yeah.
Shell has implicit conversion operators that enable the shell hierarchy to be simplified without introducing additional views. Blah, blah, blah. And they were like, hey, instead of doing the full visual hierarchy where I say shell has a flyout item, which has a tab, which has some shell content, that they even put it in this comment where they're like, look, you can get rid of all of that and just do this simple thing and we will figure it out. And that's true, except that this demo app doesn't
Yeah.
have that little thing. What was that called again? It was
With flyout option or something.
flyout
Flyout behavior. Yeah.
disabled. So you turn that off.
What other choices do you have, by the way? Because if it's not disabled, what else is there? I'm just curious.
Flyout or lock.
Okay, yeah, right. So, okay. So you would choose flyout would be explicit, right?
Yeah, but what else can we do here?
Well, there's all kinds of
yeah, there's lots of stuff going on in here.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool,
you know what
though.
this
that was a good find.
This basically is saying, what are the takeaways from this, right? Like, so getting started is pretty easy. We're goofing around here on the stream here, right?
Yeah.
But all you had to do was add this page. Like, excuse me, like the hamburger menu did itself, right?
Yep. Oh, I'm gonna hot reload all of this, by the way. And there it is. Welcome to new page 1. Everything works. So like if I want to see, can I hot reload? I mean, I guess I can hot reload the shell flyout behavior.
Oh, really?
I mean, I guess I
XAML.
can.
Yeah.
I mean, we're about to find out. In fact, I can already see that it went
away.
away.
Yeah.
So that works.
I'm yawning a lot tonight.
I mean,
that's pretty slick.
Wow. That's actually, it almost makes you want to write a mobile app.
Almost like this, yeah. But then I get this close. And here's the thing, and I'm not here to be negative because I think this is pretty great. And some people have to build mobile applications. But there's always trouble when you're building mobile applications, right? There's just a lot going on.
Yeah, it's hard.
And things have gotten really good with stuff like this. I think I think I'd be happier today building a mobile app than I had been in the past, right? But I like to stick in the web world if I can, honestly.
No, I mean, I think maybe one of my problems is I like a lot of different things.
Yeah. Now I do think if you were doing this tomorrow, your boss comes in and says, "Hey, Chris, I need you to create a mobile app," and you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to use Maui." Well, let's face it. With Maui, you're not just building a mobile app; you're building a cross-platform app, right? But are you using Blazor or are you using XAML?
Well, like
I think I'm using Blazor,
and that's the interesting thing. So it's interesting that you said that, Andy, because there are plenty of people who are complaining that the Blazor support is silly. That, like, why would you want that? I mean, you're making a mobile app. If you want a web app, make a web app. If you want a web app, make a progressive web app. What do you need this extra layering on? And
so what my answer would be to that?
Yeah.
If you want to build a mobile app, why don't you just build it in the native application? Like, why not just build it? Right? Like, why not just build it in Java or something, or whatever you need for Android? Why not just build it in what's it called for Apple? Forget what what they call it. Like, why not just build it in the native thing? Because that's a pain in the neck, right? So different things, we have abstractions, or to make things easier. And why not? Why shouldn't I use the UI framework that I like, right? And I know you're just playing devil's advocate, whatever, but
Yep,
I
sure.
think that's the answer. Like, well, why not? Because that's what I want to do, right?
Right.
Because XAML still brings back bad memories for me. Sorry to our friends that like XAML, right? I just find it, I don't know, complicated.
So I'm really gonna go for it here, and let's see. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, you don't even know what you're doing.
Uh,
You're just clicking stuff, right? Which is great.
I'm gonna see if I can implement a quick accelerometer reading.
Wait, how did you get this far? I was just talking. What were you typing?
Well, first of all, I can write this little
Oh my God.
method, toggle accelerometer, that checks to
Yeah, but
see if
where'd
the
you get that
accelerometer
idea
is
from?
recorded.
How did you know to
Oh,
toggle
I basically stole it from the device features section. So we'll look at the docs in a second. The
Okay.
docs talk about how you can access sensors. Because
You wrote that really quickly, so you stole it.
one of the things that separate no, dude, it's amazing how much I picked up. No, you're right. I'm not going
So
to take
good
credit
I
for it.
know, like immediately you wrote this, and I'm like, what the?
I'm not going to take credit for it. So we need an accelerator label. We need something called Excel label. We need that. So let's get over
Yeah.
here and
And
let's
that's just
make
a
a
name. That's not like a real thing. They just
yeah,
called it Excel label. Like that's just the ID that they're assigning to, right?
right. And
Is it like ID or something like that?
um
X colon ID? I don't know.
I really don't know, but we're about to find out because I think we can go look at the main page for an idea
Name?
here.
I forget. Yeah, this is how rusty I am with these things. I feel like it's
Button X name
X
probably.
name.
I hope. I hope.
Yeah.
I hope it's that simple. Because if it isn't, this is going to be a real short demo. And what was it called
When
again?
have we ever let being wrong lead us to short demos?
Okay. Let's see if that squiggly went away. Oh, it hasn't gone away yet. Oh, wait, there it went.
I think you
The
have two
squiggly went
C's.
away.
You have two C's in it? Okay, you guess
The
you
little
did. Yeah.
squiggly went away.
Okay.
Now, I mean, the formatting's all wrong. But what I'm hoping happens here is
Yeah,
I'm
who's pissed
hoping
off? Everybody that's watching right now. The formatting is off, guys. I mean, are we going to let Chris get away with this? Come
I'm
on,
hoping that
Chris.
when we create a new page, we turn the accelerometer on, and then when the reading changes, it fires this event. Well, basically just
Yeah.
whatever. This event is subscribed. So when reading changed is fired, this runs, and then it's just going to change the reading is what I'm hoping happens here. And
Mm-hmm.
I've got that's going to the Android. I need to send that. Actually, I don't think I need to. I think you can cheat all that stuff here, but I'll get this going to the phone once I show
Well, you
you.
guys just hit the rotate button, right?
Maybe, I don't know.
There's a rotate button halfway up that emulator.
Oh, actually it built. Well, let's just send it to my phone. So go, do it. That would be something. That would be something if this worked. Um
If you tilt your phone, like actually tilt it with your hand, does it rotate on the screen? Yes,
yeah,
it
it sure
does.
did. Look at that.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So what is it? Publishing it now, right?
Yeah, it's in the middle of publishing it. So yeah, I don't know how pretty impressive. Look at that.
Oh, look at this. That's cool,
Screen check.
dude. Your camera was on. That was cool.
Okay, so here it is. The app's opening up. We're going to go to new page.
New
And
page. Oh, it's freaking out already because
I'm
you're
getting
it's moving
accelerometer
your hand.
values.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, how did so the question is, how did I figure that out? So in the
Yeah.
in the Maui
There it
documentation,
is. Yeah, yeah.
we've got platform integration, device features, and I picked device sensors. And then the first one up was accelerometer. So I said, okay, let's do it. Let's do it, accelerometer. Let's go.
I'll tell you something, Chris. This is pretty basic code, right? Like stuff that we've written before. Like you're scrolling a lot, but if you stop on the
Yeah.
code for a sec, it's event driven code, right? It's the kind of stuff you do where you wire up an event and then you handle it, right? But
Right.
but I'll tell you what, this is kind of I don't want to overstate it, kind of foreign to me. Like I do not write code like this anymore because I'm so used to just web apps and things like that. Like I don't do a lot of these kind of events. I mean it's not hard, um, but it's like oh yeah, the set object sender and then the event args. Like do you do this? I don't do this a lot.
Well, it was more important in WinForms days, but in WinForms days, I think a lot of us, myself included, use the designer and it wired stuff up for you. And
Oh,
so then all you did was go implement the code behind. Like, didn't you used to put a button on and then double click the button and then write the code? I mean, I'm not too
okay.
proud to admit that's what I did. That's what I did back in VB,
Yeah,
classic
and
VB.
then there was other stuff though where I think with when the Silverlight
Oh
days
yeah.
where we used
Yep.
the XAML and we
Yep.
did behavior, wasn't
Sure.
that called like binding of behaviors or something like
It was
that?
like model binding, and basically
But
what
you
would
could
happen
bind
was,
like
yeah,
the accelerometer in XAML, you could bind it somehow
right,
to this method.
right. You
Yeah,
could
oh, I know
somehow.
why. I'm also thinking, wait, hang on 1 second. I used to use MVVM, right?
Well, you might have
Model
used
view
a
model.
framework. Like you might have used
Yeah, I think we wrote our own a little
there
bit,
was
like a lightweight framework.
there was an MVVM Lite, and there's they still exist. Boy, I feel terrible. I'm not going to remember the names of the frameworks, but if you
MVVM
use the
Lite was a big
framework,
one. Yeah.
you got like MVVM, but it was more filled out. Like WPF was down the road of the model view model paradigm, but it didn't implement like everything. And so a lot of times the first thing you would have to do was implement your own interfaces, and then people were like, "Man, why are you doing this? Let's just write a framework." So I I did a little bit of WPF. Uh, I mean, so a lot of people who use WPF used it as a second WinForms. It was like, well, Microsoft's doing this thing, and so maybe we should learn it. But I had an opportunity for about a year and a half where I did WPF, I think the way like what Microsoft was thinking. We're talking using it for its graphics, its animation, its device
Yes, definitely.
support. It was cool stuff. Look, I can get into the geolocation and get the current location, the accuracy, all that stuff.
Right.
Flashlight, that's interesting, right? I could turn on and off the flashlight. That's cool.
That is cool.
I mean,
What does the emulator do? Does the emulator have a flashlight?
well, I didn't fire this up in the emulator, but I think
No,
to your point,
just kidding.
I wanted to make sure that I saw it doing something, right? And so it's the device is sitting there now, but it's still kind of like it's kind of moving now. If I
Yeah.
pick it up and move it around, those numbers get much bigger.
Oh, even when it's sitting still, the accelerometer is moving.
Yeah, I'm getting some reading, and I don't know
I
why.
guess it's very sensitive. Vibrations, things, right? So, here's what I think like about this, right? Because people are watching and we didn't like go ahead and build an application tonight, right? Like we
No.
we we fired up but I don't think that's necessary. Like that wasn't really our intent, right?
Yeah.
What I see from this is getting started is easy. Debugging works, okay? And obviously you need to know some XAML, which, I think would be a learning curve for a lot of people, right? But the rest of it's just C sharp. And I don't want to like give it just C sharp, but because maybe that's too simplistic. But what I'm saying is it's not like a whole different paradigm. Like the code we're going to write is the same, except we have access to things like accelerometers and stuff like that. But if I wanted to call back to a web API, I would call out to web API. I would get the data back. I would parse it, like whatever, right? Um, and the dependency injection is there as we would want it to be, right? And so you know, I think this kind of shows me a lot of what's capable, like just a kind of basic hacking around demo like this shows me a lot of what I could probably get going pretty quickly with this. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, I don't even think you're wrong when you say, hey, if I was going to do this stuff, I might do it in Blazor. I think you'll find that you still have to learn, if you're working with the device, you're still going to have to be able to write this device code. Fine.
Absolutely.
You will probably have to learn just enough of the shell, the XAML shell that's wrapping, what do they call it? The Blazor web view or something?
Oh, right, right. Yeah, go back to that. So
Yeah.
where's the
So
shell?
so just to be clear to everybody watching, I've switched back to the Blazor, the .NET Maui Blazor version, and let's now, maybe it'll make more sense if we cruise through. So the app XAML doesn't look that different to me. The app.xaml doesn't.
Right.
But let's go to the main page, and the main page says, we are hosting, our content is a Blazor web view. So if I compare that to the content we have in the other app, main page.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
Yeah, the
So
content here
yeah.
is the scroll view and the image. Here the content is the Blazor web view, and that's the end of it.
Right.
Now, I suppose you could get real fancy and kind of mix and match in funny ways, but I don't know that you want to do that, because the Blazor web view, at least the Blazor app, can also be that navigation for you.
Of course, right.
So
yeah, I think that's what you're doing here. You're sort of delegating everything to say,
yeah,
okay, go into the Blazor app and do what the Blazor app wants you to do.
right. Like,
want to
fire up
navigate
the
around.
Blazor app, and then I'm done. As far as Maui's concerned,
Yeah.
Maui's like, I'm done.
Yeah. Yep. It's like a wrapper, And so there's a couple lines of code that you do to add the Maui. I'm sorry, to add the Blazor web view. And then I think you're just off and running with your Blazor.
Yeah, then you're in this world of, basically you have your index HTML with the app, and then you're on your way to saying, like, well, here's my here are my Razor components, my Blazor pages.
Yeah.
And you go from there. So interesting. And I still think, though, and I'm not saying that's bad. Especially if you like Blazor, if you're coming from it, you like it, can't beat it.
Well, I mean, I don't know. We certainly aren't able to do a robust survey live here on the show.
Oh, no, I understand.
But the question is this. Okay, most .NET developers, or like both Blazor and XAML, are new to many developers.
Sure, right.
Right? Like if
right.
I, go to especially in the enterprise developer world, right? Go up to developers at a company, and I'd say, all right, do you know XAML? No. Do you know Blazor? Well, I've been hearing a lot about it, but I don't really know it, because it's, oh, what do you write your apps in? And they say, well, we do Angular,
right,
or we do, Vue.js, or whatever it is we're doing, right? Or maybe we're doing
.NET
MVC.
Backend. Yeah.
Maybe we're doing MVC, right? Yeah. And so you say, oh, okay, cool, right? So now most people, I think, do come, not everybody, but most people are going to come to that juncture. Which one do I do, XAML or Blazor? Now, there's no right answer. I don't think. There's no wrong answer, right? Again, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. The question is really just like, well, what do you want to do? Now, I don't know. That's why I'm kind of inclined to do Blazor, and here's why. Because if I'm going to build a new web app, I'm going to be using Blazor, not XAML, right? Obviously, because I'm building a web app, right? Sometimes I build web apps in this fictitious example here. Sometimes I build web apps. Sometimes I build APIs. Sometimes I build desktop apps, right? With Blazor, I'm using the same thing for two of those.
Right. Yep. No, I understand.
Now, again, I go into a different shop and I go, "What do you guys do?" They're like, "Oh, we got a whole suite uh, of WPF apps that we've been building for our end users and stuff like that." Well, then no brainer. What are you going to use when you build your this thing? You're going to use
Yeah.
XAML,
Right. Yeah.
right?
I think it's gonna start
Uh,
raining here. I need to close a couple windows.
it's
So
raining here. I do hear it raining in the background. The birds stopped chirping, by the way. No one, I don't think anyone could hear the rain
no,
dripping in the background, but if you can, you have good ears because that would be impressive. Go ahead and
I
close a window. I'll
yeah.
back for a minute.
All right.
Yeah. So this is interesting stuff. I'm curious, if people are live and stuff like that. You're lurking, that's fine. Chill out and lurk and do whatever it is you're doing. But love to know if people have played with this and what they think about this sort of debate. It's not so much a debate, but this choice that we have to make about, would you use Blazor or would you use XAML? And it seems like it comes down to personal preference. One of the things that often helps me make those decisions is like the Google uh, experience. Like when I Google creating a Maui app and I'm moving, let's say, away from the Microsoft Docs, which are probably going to show both examples all the time, right? If I'm Googling it, you kind of like gonna go like, all right, if I have a problem and I need to go to Stack Overflow, what are more of the examples in? What are more people answering questions in, or what are more people using? That might be something that would help to make my decision. I think. Um, I think so. So, and if people are watching this on YouTube, feel free to put a comment in the YouTube comment section with your thoughts on that kind of stuff because it's all kind of interesting. All decisions we have to make. Um, I don't know, right? I do see. Let's see. There's a comment from Dark Elder. Thanks, Dark Elder. Dark Elder says, "I agree. Which has better support when issues arrive, right? Or what is better for the job at hand?" Yeah, what is better for the job at hand is actually something I hadn't considered. Is there a better? I think if I'm building a plain old that doesn't do anything, specifically special, right? Then maybe it doesn't matter. However, XAML has offers a lot when it comes to stylability. And if I remember correctly, like the animations, like I assume that those animations still work. There are things that you could do. Chris, you're just back. I see you're putting on your headphones, but I wonder. I'm thinking about like Dark Elders. I was talking about how do you make the choice, and one of the things I said is, sometimes one of the best things you want to do is look at like, well, if I get into trouble, which flavor am I going to get more support on? If I go to Stack Overflow and post and look at answers, are more people using the XAML versus the Blazor? But Dark Elder says, which is better for the job at hand? So that was bringing me to talk about Chris. My experience with Silverlight and XAML and all that kind of stuff. You know, there's a lot of stuff you can do in terms of animations and really good graphic stuff that would, right? You know what I'm talking about, Chris?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I know.
And so that stuff, I assume, is still available. Like XAML is XAML, right? So if I wanted, like, there was all kinds of crazy stuff you could do in XAML with these intense gradients and animations that would spin on different, like you could do beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
I never did, but you
Yeah. I
could.
mean, so XAML, I saw. Well, I actually worked on some really interesting things with XAML, where, for example, the idea of animating not just like traditionally, I always thought of animating as like of images, like a flip book, but you could animate properties in XAML, and so maybe
Like,
animating a property, you might animate a color or a border, so the border would maybe or
okay.
maybe the border's color, And so you could get these really nice effects just by having a property value change over time, and you could even
Yeah.
define the curve for that animation. And
Yeah.
so if you had some sharp designers, some really bright creative people who could basically, it's not even so much that they had to know the XAML, but if they did, that certainly didn't hurt. But if they could at least describe to you in kind of a more abstract mathematical way, like here's how I want it to work, then you could code that up. And that was really cool. Now I know that, like, the way things ended with Silverlight left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths over XAML, but XAML's still there and has been there for WPF ever since. Is this the same exact flavor of XAML? I think the answer is no, and that's been a struggle for quite some time now. Because when UWP came out, the flavor of XAML was just a little different, and that was frustrating. And the flavor of XAML for Silverlight was like just a little different.
Yes, I remember Silverlight being different than WPF, but I didn't know that some of these other things have different flavors as well.
So I think that one of the ideas behind Maui is there's a unification that's going on, but I don't know. To be fair, I don't know that it can ever be WPF's XAML. I don't, and I don't know what's different, and I don't even know if I'm going to worry about it too much. Not because it doesn't matter, just because, like they say here, XAML, an extensible application markup language. When XAML was dropped on the scene, admittedly now a long time ago, when you think about it, let's be fair. At the time, Microsoft, I think they still felt like desktop apps, this browser thing might not last. There was still that. It seems crazy to think that now, but it was still a time when it was like, I don't know, this browser thing might give way to Flash and native. Native seems to be making a comeback. Look, the phones were coming out, and so I think there was a thought that native might be making a comeback. Maybe this browser thing is not all it's cracked up to be. And it's funny to laugh about it, but these were real ideas. And I gotta admit, I like XAML. I don't work in it enough for me to say I know it anymore. I would be very wary of telling anybody, yeah, I'm ready to code up XAML. But even tonight, I was able to remember enough.
You did all right. You did all right. I look at it and I can read it. I get it all. But
so we've got some
I
data
don't.
binding. We've got some basic MVVM.
Yeah.
This I'm looking in the Maui documentation now, what you're seeing on the screen. So they talk about what you just said, is that, hey, you retrieve a date time, it gets set, but here's the problem. That clock is not getting updated. So, they're going to talk here about property changed event handlers. Like this stuff, I notify property changed. Like these are memories of mine now. I notify property changed. Do I remember everything about
God.
it? No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't remember everything about it, but here they go. They're like, hey, if you implement I notify property change, provide a property change handler, and then you too can invoke, So it's interesting. Oh, look, the command interface. I remember all this stuff. Wow.
And binding and all that. Yep.
Yeah, this is really taking me back. It might be interesting to go through some of this stuff and sort of I don't know. We run into the problem of you can only learn so much. As much as I like all kinds of different things in software, and part of the thing you see on this show is you see me dabbling a lot in a lot of things, not necessarily being great at any of them.
Well, you know what? It's okay. You're good at a lot of stuff, but yeah, these are things I haven't thought about much in a while.
Yep.
MVVM and this kind of binding and use a lot of stuff. I mean, it looks pretty cool though. I mean, I don't I don't personally, today and not for a while have had much need um, for apps, be it Windows or mobile or any of that stuff. That's just not the world I play in much, right?
Right.
I'm more in the traditional web space. So, but if I was, I mean, this all looks really good. You know, no question about it. I don't know. I think we accomplished a goal here.
Yeah, I agree. Wanted to see if we could use Maui. We did. Made some changes. We showed, we got to see how hot reload stuff works. Heck, we even added a second page. I mean, it looked dicey there for a second. Like, I don't know if I can do this, but it turned out that we had to disable that little. So there's a lesson for everybody right there, man. If there's one thing you get from this show, is you fire this stuff up, you're going to be frustrated as heck that here in app dot was it app no it was in main page, right? It was here in main
Yeah, I think
page.
it was right there.
No, this wasn't it. It was an app shell.
Shell, shell, yeah,
Yeah, it's right here. There's the fly out behavior is
behavior.
set to disabled, and you're gonna sit here going, I'm adding pages, why isn't it working?
I
And
wonder
that's
why
why.
they had it default to disabled when if you didn't have anything there, what was the difference? It's interesting. Interesting choice of the template that they're putting in there. Um, you know,
Because
and
I
what
think
where are they
precisely
leading you?
because somebody tinkering could get stuck just like we almost did. And that's not the greatest
Yes,
experience, right?
that would be the argument to not have that setting. But on the other hand, I wonder if you had tabs at the bottom, if that flyout would have caused trouble because you had tabs and flyout enabled. Like maybe they needed to do that. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. I'm feeling good about it. Um, I'm feeling pretty good about this show. Um, do we have a plan for next week?
I
I think
didn't
we've
get it
talked about
into
things. I'm not sure if you're
well, I
ready to
didn't get
go
it
with
into
that.
meetup, but um I was thinking that I don't know how long it's been now, but a few months ago, gosh, has it been a few months? We did a show on Git, and the focus was that time. The focus was how you use it at work, is what I call it, because I actually think it's different. I really do. I think at work we all tend to have a server that we consider, like, that server is important. And not only is that server important, there's a branch that's important. It's called main or trunk or whatever you want to call it. And we basically create pull requests in order to merge into that. But that server is it. It's not on anyone's laptop. It's that server. Where in the open source world, the paradigm's a little different. In the open source world, there's a repository on a service, whether it's GitHub, Bitbucket, Azure repos, I don't care. It doesn't matter. And that repo is what's golden. I mean, if we go to the .NET repos, that's what they build from. That's it. That's the important repository. But unlike at work, everybody on your team has access to that repository and probably has push rights. We don't do that in open source world. We make you approach it a different way. And we never had that conversation about, so how do you do that effectively? There are questions people ask. There's places where people get stuck. Very commonly for me, the question I get asked a lot is they say, so I'm I'm contributing to this open source project, and my pull request has been completed, but my code is way behind because, while I was working, the main branch went on and on and on and on and on, and I don't know what to do. What most people tell me, in fact, I've even had people tell me, oh, but the way Git works is you have to throw that repo away and then start over because, once main moves on, you can't, there's nothing you can do. And I'm like, no, that's not how I work at all. So, we had talked about having a Git an open source show. You know what? It's never a bad idea to have a quick Git refresher. I try to do everything from the command line, although people do know that I'll use a tool that we can at least look at the graph. We don't have to use any commands in it, but at least we can look at the commit graph, which to me is the most important. The important thing is.
It was March 9th, by the way.
Oh, was it March 9th? Okay, so it's been about 3 months.
Yeah, March 9th, a couple months. And then we had another Git show before that, which I think we're kind of led into that one, which was like, working with Git tips and frustrations and questions. And I think that kind of brought out the let's do the Git at work one. And I think, I think you're right. I think a lot of people do have sort of that two different experiences with Git. It's funny how I don't think of it. I'm just not that good at it, honestly, right? And I don't think about it. But you bring up that point. You're like, yeah, that is totally different. I don't know if the people even if that's obvious to people. Some people only work in one mode.
Yep.
Don't really think about the other, but they really are quite different. So I think that'll be a fun show. So we're going to do that next Wednesday, right?
Yeah, I wanted to get it up on Meetup. So, because I think we all recognize the sooner we get shows on Meetup, the more likely people will go, oh, hey, I want to go be part of that show. So, for those watching, it's not that we aren't trying. Sometimes it's not even so much that ideas are the problem. It's that making sure that we can commit to having the show, So,
yeah.
And there are some folks we're talking to that hopefully we can have some guests on. There's a lot of great topics that I know we want to cover, or that I would love to have someone come and give us the real deal on Maui and modern app development and thinking about, hey, I want to build an app and I want to get it into the Android store. I want to get it into the Microsoft store. The reason I'm picking on those two is I think we could do that without great expense of specific hardware. I don't have a Mac. So there's that precludes me from even trying out iOS and Mac Catalyst development. I can't even try it, much less push to that iOS store. Whereas I think even if it was just an app that it's really not, we're not talking about a meaningful app, but even a Dev Talk Show app that, hey, maybe it goes out and hits the Meetup API and tells you what shows are next. Maybe we learn how to do notifications so it tells you hey, we're 1 day away from the next show. How cool would that be? I don't know if it would be that cool. But learning how to do it all might be valuable.
Yeah.
And getting that
it costs money to publish to the Apple store. I don't know about the Android store. I don't recall. I think you need to be pre-set up with those things.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of overhead that goes in with that. Publishing is the hard part.
Yeah, I think you can get into the Windows, the Microsoft store. I know it used to cost, but I feel like it's free now, but I don't know for sure.
I used to have the accounts on all these things. Yeah. And I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we got a show for next. Bottom line is though, we got some stuff to talk about next week.
Yep.
Which will be Git for open source.
Yep, that's right.
Right. And thanks, Chris, for putting this talk together today, and for actually taking 2 weeks in a row, taking the next one. And I don't know, we didn't mention it, but our friend Rich Ross is not on the screen tonight, but he'll be back soon. I think another maybe 2 weeks. I think he said something like that. He's taking a little break.
Oh, it's a busy time of year. If you work at Microsoft right now, it's a busy time of year. I think we know that because the MVP program renews July 1st. That's the beginning of the fiscal year. That's all public information. That's the fiscal year at Microsoft is July 1st. Did I say January? I didn't mean to. July 1st. I mean, there's a lot going on there right now to close out whatever fiscal year this is, 2022, 23. I don't know. I'm not that in touch, but
right.
Yeah, it's a busy time. So hey.
All right. So he'll be back with us in a few weeks was my point. He has not left us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Right.
Even if he tried, we're not really let him. So
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks to everybody who participated tonight. Really appreciate it. Thank you for joining. And if you're watching now live on Twitch, thanks for being here. And if you're watching in the future on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you think about Maui. If you've got some tips for us, please let us know. Anything we did that made you cringe and said, oh, guys, it was so much easier, just do this. Let us know. We are learning from you as well. We don't pretend that we know everything. So in the meantime, for my co-host, Andy Schwam, we hope you had a good time. We will see you next week at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time on the Dev Talk Show.